Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Welcome to another lecture. In this class, we are going to continue with Unit 11 of Class 12 Education Nagaland Board, which is intelligence. So far we have learned about the meaning of intelligence, the various definitions of intelligence, how to measure the intelligence. Then we've also learned about the Gardner's multiple intelligence theory, as well as the two-factor theory by Spearman. Now, we are going to learn in this video about the uses of intelligence tests. How do we make use of the intelligence tests that we discussed about in our previous video? So, the first and the most important use of the intelligence tests are for classification. That means categorization. In schools, these tests help the administration to categorize the students on the basis of their intelligence. Those students who have a higher intelligence are arranged separately. Those who have lower intelligence are arranged separately. Why is it done? This is done because in this way, the learning can be made more effective for them. Let's say, for example, there is a class which has only the students who have, who are of the level of higher intelligence. The teacher who comes to teach in that class is going to ensure that the teaching material, the teaching aid, the quality is such that it is targeting the group of people who have higher intelligence. On the other hand, for the lower intelligence, again, the teaching aids, the methodology has to be such that the students are able to understand well what is being delivered to them. The second use of these intelligence tests is for guidance. On the basis of these intelligence tests, the schools, the administrations, the counselors, the vocational guides, they connect to the students and they guide the students with what course they should choose in the future. For a child who has higher intelligence, they would always be suggested and guided to do something which involves them to use their intelligence appropriately. And those who have lower intelligence may be, very creative, may have wonderful artistic qualities, so they would be guided in the similar way. Next, these tests are used for the selection purposes. When you go for some college, some university, whatever entrance test they take, they are doing nothing but they are administering you on the basis of your intelligence. So, you will be selected for particular courses, for different subjects, for the scholarship programs, for the co-curricular activities on the basis of your intelligence. Now, children are always selected on the basis of their IQ, and this table shows the acceptable IQ level of the children. For technical courses, the students should have an IQ level of 114. For scientific courses, the IQ level which is expected is 108. For academic courses, it is 106. For commercial courses, it is 104. And for trade-related courses, the IQ level accepted and expected is 102. So this is how the tests help one to categorize the students. Next, these tests will be help to know the individuals. On the basis of your intelligence, you will be judged for your potentialities. People are going to know what is your potential. On the basis of your potential, you will be provided with similar or, even better opportunities thereon. So these, performance tests that we discussed about, they will let everybody know about your innate potential. And it is on the basis of these potentials only that you would further be guided to move ahead in life and your overall personality will be groomed. Next is to establish aspiration level. What do you want to be? What do you desire to become in the future? So on the basis of your results of the intelligence tests, the aspiration level of the learners are also established. Those students who aspire to become scientists, but their intelligence test show that they have a lower intelligence. They are guided, they are told in a manner which would not be hurtful that you should not go for this, rather think of considering this option. Similarly, those students who have a higher intelligence but wish to take up some course which is lower aspiration level, then they are going to be guided in the similar manner. The next use of the intelligence tests is for the promotion. When a child is promoted to the next class, it is on the basis of these intelligence tests only that this promotion takes place. In the vocational fields also, these tests are used because they always give an upper hand to the educator to promote the child according to his or her abilities. And last but not the least, tests are useful for the purpose of research. So there are multiple research studies which have taken place with respect to the intelligence tests. So this is how the intelligence tests were useful. With usage comes limitations also. So there has to be some or the other area in which these intelligence tests cannot be trusted, cannot be relied upon, and cannot be as useful as they are expected to be. So the first such limitation of the tests is their lack of reliability and standardization. Intelligence tests are not reliable. That means that if, you keep on taking this test again and again, and or rather if you are not administering the child properly, you cannot get to know the correct score, the correct intelligence quotient of the child. For example, let's say a child who ended up scoring 50 marks today. That does not mean that is the the level of intelligence which has been set for the child, and every time the child is going to be exposed to the test, his or her score remains the same. No, it can improve, it can even become worse. So you cannot rely to get the same result all the time. Therefore, the test cannot be reliable. Now, in these intelligence tests, obviously, this is one of the major characteristics which is lacking. And that is why the standard procedure of assessing the child is missing. And that test, which gives you a reliable and a valid test, is known as a standard test. But such performance tests, such intelligence tests are not standard because you cannot expect to get the same result every time you take the test. The next limitation of such tests is that they are not accurate and comprehensive in nature. Now, when we don't know the nature of the intelligence tests, how can you consider such tests to be accurate? How can you consider such tests to be holistic in nature, to test you, to judge you on a whole? So these tests cannot be accurate, these tests cannot be comprehensive and holistic in nature because all the things that you are assessed upon in your intelligence tests, they do not cover the different aspects of your personality. Right? Let's say your intelligence test covered only the spatial as well as the linguistic skills. You were good in linguistic skills, but apart from linguistic, your upper hand was in the musical, intelligence, let's say, for example. So since that aspect was not covered in your intelligence test, so the intelligence test was not a true indicator of your intelligence. It is affected by culture. Intelligence tests are different in different cultures. At times, the student who is brought up in a good, culture, in a good environment, among, people who themselves are very well educated, so their test scores are certainly going to be better and better influenced by that. On the other hand, if we talk about those students who belong to backward communities and are not that well off and not that well educated, obviously their test will not be as good, and so the intelligence tests are not free of culture differences. In the intelligence test, there is a very strong possibility for the teachers to get biased. The partiality of the teacher is very well evident in the intelligence test. At times, if the teacher is, asked to prepare an intelligence test for a group of students, if she knows the students well, if she knows and wants the students to get better results for those performance tests, the paper will be set in the similar manner and likewise. So teachers, they would always want to, if they are given with the opportunity to set the paper for such students, they would always have an impact of their own interests and their own desires in those papers. Exhibition of guesswork. At times in the intelligence test, not only in the intelligence test for that matter, in almost every test, there is a possibility of guesswork. If a child has got a very good score but did not know anything, only ended up getting that score because of the guesswork, and that, gave him a good result. That result is not reflecting his intelligence at all. That was only a guess, a good luck by which he ended up getting the mark. So that is again not a true indicator of the intelligence of the child. Next is the lack of prediction. You cannot predict anything on the basis of your intelligence tests. And therefore, these intelligence tests are at times useless in nature. Because as we discussed in the point above that, the intelligence tests are at times dependent on the guesswork of the students also. So for a child who's ended up getting a high score in these intelligence tests is guided to go for a course as per a high intelligence level only, then that is not going to serve any good to the person or to the society, because he or she would never be able to clear that. The emphasis on speed. In these intelligence tests, there is a lot of stress, a lot of emphasis which is put onto the speed. But there are students who know everything, but they need time to understand and to interpret the situation and are slow in responding. So in such a situation, even those students who are intelligent but take time to answer, they would lag and would not be able to score well. Next, we have inadequate apparatus. At times for measuring the intelligence test, you need the apparatus. The tools should be very accurate. They should be very, appropriate. But that is missing. The apparatuses which are used for measuring the intelligence test are either ineffective or defective in the laboratory. And because of their ineffective nature, you cannot rely on the result produced out of them. Then, non-cooperation. Now, at times, those students who do not cooperate with the teacher or psychologists for these intelligence tests, these type of students are very difficult to assess and you cannot reach any conclusion by the end of it. Specifically, the small children, They don't pay attention to what is being taught. They don't pay attention to what is going on in the class. And therefore, their aim is going to go in vain, and the desired results will never be able to achieve. And last but not the least is difference in development. Now, we all have learned by now, and we talked about it in detail in the first unit of your book, that development is an ongoing, it is a continuous process. So how can you judge the IQ level of a person at one stage of life and believe that to be the same throughout? When a person is developing every age, at every age of one's life, the IQ level is certainly going to differ. So this difference in the development of the people is not considered in the performance tests. So because of these limitations, the intelligence tests cannot be measured and they cannot be relied upon and are not